Welcome to another edition of As You Are. On today's show, we talk with accomplished keyboardist, music director, writer, and freelance musician, Zecca.
Monkey see, monkey do, easy mark if they target you. Monkey see, monkey do, I'll just die if I don't have one just like you. It's a must-have, monkey see, monkey do. Gotta swing if the pitch is new. Monkey see, monkey do. Can't be cool if I don't have one too. Must have, must have, it's a must have, I must have it, monkey see, monkey do.
You do it.
Bite the bait if
it.
it wiggles for you.
You do it.
Monkey see,
I do it.
monkey do.
You do it.
Chase the ball
I
if
do
they
it.
toss it to you.
You do it.
Monkey see,
I do it.
monkey do.
You do it.
Think you're a lion,
I do
but
it.
you're just in the zoo. Monkey see, monkey do, easy mark if they target you. Monkey see, monkey do, can't be cool if I don't have one too. Must have, must have, must have, I must have it, monkey see,
I do it.
monkey do.
You do it.
Bite the bait
I
if
do
it
it.
wiggles for you.
You do it.
Monkey see,
I do it.
monkey do.
You do it.
Think you're a lion,
I
but
do
you're
it.
just in the zoo. Monkey see,
I do it.
monkey do.
You do it.
Think you're ahead,
I do
but you're
it.
just in the queue.
Must have it, 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 I must have it, 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 I must have it, 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 I must have it, 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 I must have it. I must have one too.
Thank you.
And on vocals is Gary Novikov. What is your full name?
José Augusto Patrício Esteves Borgocrati Esquibel.
So who named you Zecca and why?
Well, I was born in São Paulo, in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And we use very long names, like in the United States, you use Billy Bob or something. We use double names. And or the French Jean-Pierre. My next door neighbor, my cousin, was Mark Anthony, and I never called him Mark. It was always Marco Antonio. So I grew up as Zé Augusto, Joe Augustus. And that's just absolutely impossible for Americans. It's a little too much, right? So Zecca actually
It's beautiful, though.
Zecca's actually Joey in Portuguese.
Ah,
So, so there are a lot of Zeccas in Brazil.
but your show name, who suggested that you shorten it?
Actually, it was some people who worked for David Bowie.
Mm-hmm. And
And,
who was that, and why did they recommend that?
Well, Cherry Vanilla, who we may or may not get to talk about here today, but she's a very savvy woman when it came for publicity. She was director of publicity for David Bowie for many years, and she said, that mouthful is not going to work. So why don't you cut it down? And particularly if you have 5 letters, you have a pivotal central letter. So you can make all sorts of graphics out of it.
What brought your parents
My
to America?
dad was the son of my father's father was the son of a cook on a coffee plantation. And he didn't like it. And he wanted to see the world. And so he made a very big success out of himself in Brazil and infused in my father that same desire, that same drive to be a success, to make something of himself. So I like to say my grandfather brought us off the coffee plantation and my father brought us to America.
And what would you say is the greatest gift that your parents gave to you?
Boy, that's a good question. I think it's a certain sense of faith in yourself. You know, a certain sense of everybody may tell me that I can't do this. No, this is just, it's ridiculous. You shouldn't even try. It's too over the top. The mountain is too tall. The river's too wide. But both my parents had that concept of, well, if we don't go for it, we'll regret it the rest of our lives. So they certainly gave me that gift. And I have to include my piano teacher in here because she taught me how to learn.
Now,
and that's an enormous
but
gift.
You've been playing the piano since you were how old? 7, 3?
Oh, no. I was much younger. I was one of those kids with really severe ADHD, do they call it now? I was so hyper I could make a cow nervous. You know, I was just really...
But how did you keep your focus to be able to learn the piano?
We rented a house which was furnished, and it happened to have a piano in it. And my mother was very smart. Instead of having me run around the house knocking the furniture over and just, you know, like a small tornado, she said, well, if we put him on there, he'll accomplish 2 things. He'll learn how to be a musician, and he'll learn how to control that energy and focus it on learning something. And she was absolutely right, because I immediately was fascinated by the piano and its possibilities. And it made it possible for me to practice as much as 5 hours on a third of a page of Mozart, which is my favorite landmark. But that was that idea of learning to channel all this peripheral energy that was vibrating and trembling and just sparking off in all these crazy directions, and focus it on a single thing. I know athletes do that a lot. They focus on their sport. They take all that energy and channel it.
But how do you focus if your mind is drifting from here to there while you're focused on the piano? Well, how do you direct the focus to the piano if your mind is thinking about something else?
By biting off more than you can chew. You go for something that is so difficult, that's so on the border of your abilities, that if you don't concentrate everything you're doing, you're going to fall on your nose.
So that brings us to, what's your favorite classical piece, and how did it change your life? There has to be one. It can't be more than one. It can only be one.
Well, if I was on the desert island and had to have a recording of that one single piece,
yes,
it's going to be a very odd choice, but the second opera in Wagner's Ring Cycle, Die Walküre. And
why is that, do you think?
Because one of the things Wagner used to yell at his organ, cut.
It's okay.
He'd yell at his orchestra was more emotion, more emotion, more emotion. And I began to understand how much emotion music could contain. And he was a master of that. Really just gut-wrenching, stab the heart with a fork and then twist it. And he managed to put that into his, the opening notes of Tristan and Isolde. goes from this, ouch, to that. And I just thought, wow, if music can contain that much emotion in it, yeah, let's learn how to do that.
So how did you stick with it? Because people with ADHD have a tendency, from an expert that I've had on the show, said they have a tendency to get bored easily. It's not so much holding your attention, it's like keeping you interested.
Well, I think that what I mentioned was always striving to do something that's on the edge of my limit, so that I really do have to focus on trying to pull that off, because it's just so hard for me.
What do you see as your greatest challenge? Obviously, it's not ADHD anymore, because it seems to me that you've met the challenge and you've accepted what your challenge is. Is there another challenge that music has helped you overcome now?
Well, I think this is a continuous process through all the bands and albums I've done and all the stage shows I've done a lot of experimental theater shows too, which have also toured. And that was learning how to be more and more and more naked on stage. Really putting in front of people via chord changes and melodies and words. Showing really deeply into myself. And I have to just toss in here that Lou Reed was a great help to me. A great idol of mine. He was also business-wise and artistically a great help for me, and that was one of his greatest gifts, was the ability to be just stark naked, his real self on stage.
And how do you do that? I noticed that in your bio, you've worked with a lot of what I would call expressionist artists. I don't know if that's what they were. You know, a lot of theatrical, musical expression. How do you allow yourself to be, quote, that naked? Because that's like, I don't know, turning your skin inside out and pouring alcohol on it because you don't know how people are going to react.
It's very embarrassing at first, but Lou said it very well, and I wish I could remember the actual quote. But he said, basically, don't go out there trying to please people. Go out there trying to do that goal of putting yourself in the lights. Make that what you're trying to do. You're not trying to sell records. You're not trying to please an audience or this audience or suck up to a producer because he wants you to go in this direction, but really looking into yourself and trying to find out how to put that real undoctored, which is the hardest part, to not be doctored and not play a character and not try to, put on a show, but really expose yourself.
Because that's what we do in everyday life. We have, a mask and a costume of who we are and not really, who we are inside. Now, we're going to hear another song from you, and what will that be?
It's a pretty naked one.
Okay.
I'll get progressively more naked as the show goes on.
Okay. I'll just warn the audience.
What key is this in? Oh, no, it's okay.
I don't even know what song we're doing.
Let's see. This is you heard this the other night. Okay. This is my newest song, so I'm still kind of, tripping over my feet.
Okay.
I can't wait forever. Time to make up your mind about me. I can't just stand here through all your storming weather, hoping you might open your window and wave to me. It's just too little, too little love. It's trickle down love. Trickle down love. Trickle down love. waits up above. Trickle down love. Just blow me a kiss from your balcony, baby, and I'll haul all your buckets uphill. So you'll get your fill and maybe spill a little on me, 'cause I'm burning up below you, knowing I could part those lips and make you kiss me with your soul. Oh, baby, don't want of this trickle down love. Just this fickle little tickle of love. Trickle down love. Trickle down love. It's just trickle down love. Trickle down love. We could fly so much higher than this. We could be riding the waves of love, sailing the rays of love, be lost in the oceans of love. Together, together, baby. Together, no more of this trickle down love. It's just trickle down love. Trickle down love. Just trickle down love. I could do,
Down love.
we could do. It could be so much better than this, baby.
Trickle down
Trickle
love.
down, fickle little trickle of love. Trickle down love. I can't wait forever.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you so much, Zecca. Now, I know we're starting to run out of time, and I know everybody wants to hear about the punk rock, glam rock days. So your adult years were spent at the height of punk and glam rock. Could you talk about that a little bit? What is punk
Well, I have
rock
to
and what's
separate
glam?
them a little
Okay.
Because glam is really an androgynous, I guess they use the word pansexual today. It's everybody having sex with everybody. And that was what I associate with the early years of David Bowie and the platform shoes and the shag haircuts that look a little funny from the back, but we won't go into that. But there was a certain lull in creativity in the mid-'70s. And in England, the kids got very frustrated because they felt that there was just too much Donna Summer and Fleetwood Mac and nice music and let's dance,
like
let's
that music.
dance. But they felt it was shallow. And they were doing very much what I was, what we just talked about being really revealing yourself and very honest about your emotions. So many of those lyrics I can't even say in front of the camera because you couldn't put them on the air. But they were really talking about themselves in a real personal way. So I was turned on to this wonderful woman, Cherry Vanilla, who had worked for Bowie. And she was very honest in her lyrics, and she wanted a high-energy punk band to push it. To push those songs on top of an audience like a bulldozer. And my friend who was Kiss's road manager got me an audition with her. And everybody in the band, all 5 of us, just fused instantly. It's one of those things where 5 people all want the same thing. And so that makes a kind of a locomotive that's hard to stop. And it was a great vehicle for her lyrics. She would write words like, I forget the preamble. It's, I spent all night at a party. I woke up at somebody's house. And she put this little sentence there, my white dress dirty as I walk it home. And you go, oh, I get that. I'm right there with that sentence,
Yeah, she seemed to be right in your face,
Yes.
for lack of a better word.
Yes. And she helped me a lot with that too. She was a great teacher in that.
Are you still that way now, in your face, or has that mellowed a bit?
I'm not sure if it's mellowed so much. It appears to mellow if I sit in front of a piano. But if you hear the band that I have in my mind, or if you go to some of the new songs that I've posted on iTunes and Spotify, you'll hear them the way I see them in concert, big rock concert. And it's still sort of, down your throat with cleats.
Who wrote the lyrics? Did Cherry Vanilla write the lyrics, or did you write it as a group, or how did that work?
Cherry was a very good journal keeper. She would never let an evening pass by without sitting down and writing in her diary. And she wrote a lot of these thoughts out as poems. And David Bowie, who was a personal friend, said to her, "But Cherry, these lyrics are nice and square, and they're nice and rhymed, and they're verse and chorus, and why don't you get a band and set these words to music?" So they started off in her diary as so personal that only she was intended to read them. And then they became poems, and eventually she got musicians together to help her convert these poems into music.
And were you one of those musicians?
I was one of a very long series.
Oh.
Even Mick Ronson and some people, some of Michael Kamen, who's very famous for his Hollywood soundtracks in later years. I think he may have even won an Oscar or two. All these people passed through her bands when they had the time to work with her. But when she found the four of us, with her as a lead singer, as a unit, she knew we just looked at each other around the room and went, wow.
Is that hard to
we could do
find
this.
for musicians?
Oh,
How do you know it when you find it?
Well, it's irrefutable when you find it. You just, we rehearsed for 2 weeks, 7 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And then we went on tour.
Wow.
And this was an unsigned act. This was just a band, but we were in London, and we toured all up and down the country. Learning our craft, because you remember what you did the night before. You remember what worked, you remember what didn't work. So you tweak it.
That's amazing.
You tweak it 7 nights a week.
That's amazing. So tell us about your band Get Wet. Now that was your own band.
That was, it's a little bit of both.
Oh.
Because I fell in love with a backup singer that auditioned with me named Sherry Beachfront. Well, she's Sherry Lewis now, but we called her Sherry Beachfront. And she was such an extraordinary musical actress that we were living together several months. And I was working at Bell Records, and she was working at Jimi Hendrix's famous Electric Lady Studios. And she turned to me one night and said, "Why are we working on separate projects? Why don't we work together? Everybody keeps hiring us because we're powerful. Why don't we work with the two of us?" And slowly but surely, I moved all the Cherry Vanilla pieces back together around her instead of around Sherry. So it was the same well-seasoned band that had done the RCA London record for Cherry and toured Europe, but had never played on American soil together.
And one of your songs was Billboard?
Yeah. Oh, that's that was kind of a poppy. I had written it kind of like a Supreme song.
I liked it.
Just so lonely, yeah. Oh, 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 lonely.
I
Just
quite
so
enjoyed it.
Oh, 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 lonely.
Why don't you play another song for us?
Okay. This is, again, from my new songs. And like I said, I would get more progressively naked as the show went on. So this is very hard for me to sing because it's very personal.
Okay.
Never thought I'd see the day when I'd stop loving you. As time goes by, I realize I've so much left to learn. Don't know how I survived all that crazy drama. You dragged us through that winter night outside on the stairs. I just thought I would die, but I can't feel you anymore. And from out here the shore has vanished in the night. I believe in something better than what I have left with you. I just gotta find the strength to make this goodbye. I need to breathe the air somewhere I once loved and thought I knew. Gotta get back in the game again, take my chances, play my remaining hand. So I am dressed up in lights again, trying so hard to pretend I'll find someone just like you. And I can do it, baby. I can do it because got a hopeful soul. Got a hopeful soul. I just